Have you ever stopped to imagine what life was really like for Roman soldiers during those long marches and encampments? Far different from the heroic image we usually see in films, the reality was full of challenges that extended far beyond combat. One of the biggest problems they faced was the smell. And not just any smell, but that strong stench that clung to clothes and skin and seemed impossible to remove. Picture thousands of men walking for days under the hot sun, wearing wool or linen garments that were heavy and hard to wash. They had no opportunity for daily bathing, let alone properly laundering their clothes. Sweat built up, mixed with the dust of dirt roads and the mud of the camps. On top of that, their uniform did not help much. The clothes became damp with sweat during the day and often dried only overnight, stuck to the body. And as if that were not enough, their diet sometimes made the problem worse. The soldiers ate foods full of strong flavors and odors: garlic, onions, salted meat, legumes, things that left their breath heavy. That stench on Roman campaigns was not just an issue of discomfort. In fact, it had a very serious direct impact on the soldiers' health. Lack of hygiene was perfect ground for the emergence and spread of diseases such as dysentery, fevers, and infections. In addition, skin diseases and parasitic infestations were frequent, the result of constant contact with filth, damp clothing, and infestations of lice and other insects, all common in crowded camps. And when one soldier fell ill, he was not just one less man on the front line. The sickness spread quickly, decimating dozens, hundreds, sometimes even thousands. In some cases, the number of sick soldiers reached 1/3 or more of the force, making combat impossible. The historian Appian reports that during the siege of Carthage, stagnant, dirty water was one of the main causes of illness among the Roman troops. It was so serious that the army's very military effectiveness was compromised, not only by the loss of men, but by the overall drop in morale. So how did the Roman army handle this internal problem? The Romans were never able completely to eliminate these issues. But to try to keep them under control, they first planned their camp carefully. Nothing was left to chance. Each legion followed very strict rules for setting up camp, clearly separating the areas for sleeping, cooking, latrines, and even refuse disposal. That helped prevent contamination of the places where the soldiers ate and rested, reducing the risk of disease and, of course, controlling the bad odor that could sap the army's morale. In addition, the Romans had soldiers specialized in essential organizational tasks. They were called metators, responsible for surveying and selecting the best sites for water sources and latrine pits. Ensuring access to clean water was an absolute priority because they knew that its absence or the consumption of contaminated water could cripple an entire army. Another important measure was maintaining discipline in personal cleanliness. Despite the lack of resources for frequent baths, soldiers were instructed to care for their bodies as best they could and to observe camp regulations so as to keep the environment at least minimally healthy. But even with all that planning and care, Roman logistics had its limits, especially on long campaigns and in territories with harsh environmental conditions. In such situations, securing clean water, fresh food, and a minimally sanitary environment was a challenge. Springs could dry up or become contaminated, refuse and waste would pile up, and the camp would turn unsanitary. Moreover, factors such as humid climate, intense heat, or marshy terrain favored the spread of disease, leaving the troops vulnerable to epidemics that could wipe out hundreds or even thousands of soldiers. Thus, even the most disciplined and organized army of antiquity faced an invisible enemy, the environment and the diseases it sheltered, capable of turning the tide of a war. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe.